Welcome to the Ancestry Roads webcast. Today we have special guest Denton King, and he's going to discuss with us Appalachian mountain music. And in particular, we're going to showcase a few of his songs, including I'm an Appalachian. Here you go.
My great-granddaddy cleared the farm where my grandpa and pa were raised. And my grandma helped to start the church where the folks still come to pray. The little shack wasn't much where I was born, on the hill up there where the sycamores stand. It was all my folks could afford, but I thank the Lord I was born in Appalachia. This straw hat I wear shades me from the sun. It's become a part of my skin. The jeans that I put on today are just loose enough for me to get in. Well, the rifle I use and the music I choose, they are good enough for any man. I know the Lord above and nature's my first love, 'cause I'm an Appalachian. We are proud, we are strong, we're endowed with knowing right from wrong. We can fight if we must, but there's a light in our eye you can trust, and there's a strength we have within. It has to do with where we grew, 'cause we're Appalachians. Well, the lady I love has a natural look. She's got a glow beneath her tan, and I never have to worry about the way she treats her man. She warms the winter nights and loves the full moonlight and makes the best pie in the land. But her very best trait is the love she makes, 'cause she's an Appalachian. And we are proud, we are strong, we're endowed with knowing right from wrong. We can fight if we must. There's a light in our eye you can trust, and there's a strength we have within. It has to do with where we grew, 'cause we're Appalachians. Yes, there's a strength we have within. It has to do with where we grew, 'cause we're Appalachians.
Okay, and now let me go ahead and introduce the man behind the song, Denton King. Thanks, Denton, for being here. How are you today?
I'm doing great, and thank you for that video. That was neat.
It was really great. I'd like to say that the Appalachia Project members were all on board with this song to the point where they want it to be their theme song. So they're all set.
All
so
right.
Where are you today?
Well, you know what? The second slide that you showed in your video was a little unnerving, because it was actually the house where I was born, the second slide. And it's gone, totally gone. I was in that area the other day in the mountains, and it's totally gone. Not there at all.
So it's erased.
Just erased. Yeah.
Gone. So and that's in central West Virginia, right?
Yes, it's in Webster County, West Virginia.
There we go. Well, I was thinking that probably what we should do is just very briefly, in case people don't know where Appalachia is, because we have people around the world that are on WikiTree, is show a quick map of where Appalachia is. This is just a general idea. And a lot of people seem to think that Appalachia is only West Virginia, for example, but it's a pretty big area. It involves the mountains, the hollers, the valleys, and you'll notice that it goes up to a little bit of New York, all the way straight down to Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi. So if anybody is watching this, you never know. You could be in Appalachian. You could be sitting in Appalachia right now.
You might be luckier than you think you are.
That's true. It really could. So the other thing that I want to discuss real quick is that there are a couple different areas of Appalachia that we've got the older pioneers parts, and then we also have the more current part. So a lot of these areas way, way, way back in the day were not actually there, but a lot of your ancestors that if people search on probably came from New York, Pennsylvania on down. So that gives a little bit about what they are. One thing that I do want to point out that does seem to be a misconception is that the Appalachia Trail, the mountain trail, is not what we're discussing today. That's a separate topic. We're really discussing Appalachians and who they are. And we're doing that from songs, from talking about the songs. And thank you for joining us because you are the singer-songwriter of a lot of these songs. So the first half, we're going to talk about a little bit about what Appalachian music is, what it isn't. In the second half, I hope everybody's ready to enjoy a lot of great music and a lot of great videos because we're going to find out the story behind the songs that Denton's written. And at the end, if you have any questions for Denton, we'll take the questions at the end of the presentation. So I guess the thing to keep in mind, too, is that Appalachia has about Appalachia has about current 423 counties across 13 states. So that's a pretty wide range as you're talking about your pioneers. But when we talk about the music itself, that kind of gets controversial because what is Appalachian music? There's not really a definition. You can't go to the Billboard charts and find it. So what do you think Appalachian music is?
Well, in the first place, I'm no expert on Appalachian music or any other music for that matter, but I think that my music comes out of the fact that I've experienced certain people that inspire me, or and it happens to be most of those people have been from the Appalachian region, and or a situation that occurs. And I have to think that the music reflects a culture that is interacting in a world that's God made, not man made.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a wholesome pureness about it that we aren't seeing in a lot of other music these days anyway.
I think you're right. I think that we're pure really comes through. And I think that's where it starts too. When we do talk about these pioneers from way back and a lot of ancestors, I'm reading some of the comments too, and it looks like we have quite a bit of people that know this area and have ancestors from this area. They did bring some of the music from them from England, for example. One of the most popular and well-known songs that traveled to the Appalachia area is Barbara Allen. Everybody will hear a lot of country music singers sing it as well. And music that came over from the Ulster Scots and some of the Germans, as well as some of the Italian coal miners came through. But a lot of it was the old British ballads that came through, such as Barbara Allen. And the interesting thing is, I know from my years of studying the area, the region, and a little bit of the music that came over from our pioneers was mostly geared in talking about women. And the titles of the songs were about women. For example, Barbara Allen is kind of like a cautionary tale. And I should note, I wish I could play some of this music, but it is copyrighted. So I can't play a lot of the music. Denton has offered copyright free of his music. So we'll listen to that later. But if you have a chance, everybody look up on YouTube or Spotify the Barbara Allen song. But a lot of the cautionary tales for women or what to avoid with some women came over, but it quickly changed. And this is where your pure comment comes in. Once everybody was here, they started working the farms, the fields, the coal mines. the Appalachian music kind of started to change to their situation. It wasn't so much the music from the other regions that weren't part of present day America. It started to become about their lives, their and what they wanted to sing about. And a really good point is the enslaved Africans were also a large part of Appalachia, and they had their own songs as well that they brought aboard.
Yeah, and I think as you were talking there, there's probably a lot of difference in what we think of as old time Appalachian music and music that you may hear today. That we don't have Appalachian music as a genre, as you said. Maybe we can crystallize that, and maybe your movement will crystallize Appalachian music, modern Appalachian music.
Well, you heard it here. So if you guys start to see it on billboards, you can thank this presentation for it. So we brought it aboard. But you do have a point, because then this talks also a little bit about the instruments and how because back in the day, the instruments were either what they had, a washboard or spoons, their hands, they're stomping their feet, so they could get a rhythm. And then they started building and making their own violins, fiddles, banjos, things like that came over. The Germans brought the dulcimers, the enslaved Africans brought the banjos over. And the Scots and the British, they love a fiddle. So that kind of old-timey, tinny music is what started, I think, what we would consider the Appalachian music. And now, if you look on the Billboard charts, for example, the Americana section, that's about as close as you're going to get to Appalachian music, I think. But I want to point out, too, what it's not. It is not country music. That is a separate thing. It's not pop music. That's a separate item as well. It's not bluegrass. It's not blues. But guess what? All those genres I just listed, guess where the heart of what they are? It's Appalachian music that they came through. So it's an interesting culture. And there's something else that Denton and I discussed last week. Just think about these mountains. And something that you will not hear in traditional Appalachian music is a piano. And if anybody wants to guess why, we'll tell you why at the end of this presentation, but feel free to guess why on your comments, because there's very, very good reason why you will not hear a piano in a lot of this music going on. So that's kind of interesting. Now, what instruments do you play?
Well, I play guitar. I can't say that I'm a guitar player. I play guitar. And if the musicians that I play with will tell you that that's a stretch of their imagination.
See, but then that brings out the other point of the thing that I truly love about Appalachian music is it's come as you are. I have known you to start to sing, and it's come as you are, sing as you want. Nobody's going to sit there and tell you you're out of tune, your instrument's out of tune. So that's one of the things I really love about this type of music.
Yeah. I just came from a jam just night before last, and it was just some guys that got together and played music, and we had a wonderful time, just like you say, just as we were.
And you just started playing, somebody just said, hey, I want to play this next, let's play this, and you just keep going?
Yeah, you kind of go around the room, try to be respectful of others' feelings, and kind of let each person around the room kind of start off something, and then everybody just kind of joins. And if you play by ear, most of the time you can figure out where they are, and you can join in.
See, that's what I also love about the culture of the area too. So because we are talking about the mountain music culture, so not only is the culture portrayed in the songwriting, like the coal miners or the Barbara Allens and things like that. But you just pointed out something that's really, really important, I think, to the Appalachia region is people will gather. It's not just Sunday church. People will gather and just sing.
Well, yeah, and they include in their music other genres. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
when we get together for a jam session, we don't just say, "Hey, do you know another Appalachian song?" We'll play what we have, but it's all done with a, in string music typically. Yeah.
You got a good point, because I don't think somebody will just instantly pick it up unless you're a Dolly Parton or Brad Paisley. I don't think you're going to use the term, "What's that Appalachian song that you just wrote or you just sang about?" So you do have a good point with that. That is interesting. And keep in mind too that way back in the day, pioneer life was rough. This was their entertainment. They would sit around, they'd be on the porch or gather around. This was their entertainment. They did not have the movie theaters and things like that and the cars to take them places. I'm talking like early 1800s. This was their way of entertaining themselves, getting together, singing in community.
Yeah, that's right. And typically somebody that had a little bit of talent that could play the fiddle or the banjo. The guitar came along a little bit later, but I never thought about it until you mentioned it just a while ago when they would make the percussion sound with their foot and that kind of thing. I remember watching my dad play his fiddle and dancing at the same time to put the percussion into the song. And it was, and they didn't call it performing, they called it showing off.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so if I didn't use my foot to add the percussion, was I showing off? It's just my fiddle playing, or I had to do both?
Well, I don't know. I won't try to go there. But I think the performance was showing off. Playing the fiddle for other people to listen may have been playing the fiddle.
This is another point too. There wasn't a store or a big box store, a big place, or people that they would go and pay to learn how to play these instruments. They either learned them from their families or they picked them up and they started figuring it out on their own.
Yeah, and they learn from each other. And I mean, that's still being done today. When we got together to jam night before last, we all learn from being together, even in a jam. And I'm talking about the most talented of the musicians that were there was still learning some things from some of the others. Some of us others who don't know much about it we were all learning from each other. And some of the old square dances that they would get together and dance and play music, they also, the musicians learned music at those times. Somebody would bring in something and they would learn each other's music and that kind of thing.
I will tell you, but you have never seen somebody who can talk so fast between an auctioneer or a square dance caller. You can definitely figure that out. So let's transition. So we're about halfway through a presentation, and I want to try and get in as much as your music and your stories as possible. So when did you first write your first song?
I just thought of that the other day. When I was just a kid, I was probably about 8 years old. I remember writing a song, making up a song. We don't write songs. I still don't write songs. I make up songs. And I made up a song and I played it for my mom on a little ukulele. And I don't know if I played the ukulele right or not, but I played a song for her, and she really was impressed. I could tell by the way she reacted to me, and it really was a very positive experience for me. And it kind of was something that I've continued to try to fulfill. The little bit of praise that she gave me really meant a lot.
And how old did you say you were?
I'm sorry?
How old were you?
I was about 8 years old, I think.
So, and I know you come from a musical family as well. How many brothers and sisters do you have?
Well, I have 7 brothers and sisters. Unfortunately, only four of them are living, and I've lost. There were seven of us, I should say,
that were there. And I know that as an adult, you kind of got started in your songwriting with educational songs.
I've always just kind of played around with it, but I never got serious about it. The first song I got really serious about and recorded was a song about, and as I said earlier on, typically somebody impresses me in some way that I want to emotionally write about that. And my son came home from a field trip in Charleston, and he said, I didn't get to meet A. James Manchin. Well, A. James Manchin was a Secretary of State in West Virginia, and he was a real flamboyant character. So I wrote this song about A. James Manchin, and I took it to him, and he in turn took me to Governor Rockefeller's office, and we played the song in front of Governor Rockefeller, and he danced around his desk with the flag around him. And it was called Mr. Manchin, who happened to be Joe Manchin's uncle, and Senator Joe Manchin's uncle. But anyhow, that was the first song. And when I wrote that song, I did it on a 45. I took it to him, and we decided, well, let's go ahead and record it. And I did record it, and that was in the days of 45 records. So I had to flip side. So I wrote Call Me West Virginia for the flip side.
Well, it's interesting because I never knew you were close with the Rockefellers through your music.
Well, I can't say I was close. I got to be close one time. He didn't provide any of his money for me.
None of his oil mines or anything. So, do you mostly come up with songs about Appalachia, or just something you see?
It can typically I think I write with an Appalachian orientation, but it might not be about Appalachia or a character from Appalachia necessarily.
Well, it's interesting because I know that there is one song that you requested that we play, and that one song will play at the very end because it belongs there and it's poignant at the end of this presentation. And you were worried that it wasn't about Appalachia, but we will discuss that in just a minute. Let's move on. You know, the song that we just played at the top of this presentation, I'm an Appalachian. Like I said, our project, they got a kind of world premiere of it last night. A lot of them hadn't seen it until last night, and they love it. So how does one come up with that song, I'm an Appalachian?
Oh, wonderful.
So did you just think, that's what I am, and that's what I'm going to do?
Well, I just think the people, I wanted to do something that would bring some positive results to the Appalachians. The people of Appalachia have been made fun of. They've been looked down on. But we have intelligent, creative, athletic people here in the Appalachians, and I just wanted people from this area to have something positive to lean to, and any way I can do that, I want to try to make it happen. So I thought a song that reflected some positivity about this area and the people would be something of value. So that's where it came from.
Well, I will tell you, it resonated so much that in a few of you, if we have some project members in the comments, they can attest to this. After they saw the video once, I heard a few of them played it like 5 times, one after another, because it did resonate with them that they do want to change the narrative with that. So speaking of songs, let's go ahead and move on to the one that I think you are probably most known for. And we're going to play a video now. And as you see this video of the song, West Virginians Coming Home, this is actually, the photos are Denton's ancestors from central West Virginia.
Here she comes, can you hear her noise? She's got those them West Virginia boys. Hear her coming round that hill. We never thought she'd get back home, but I guess she will. They are diamonds, and they are pearls, and she's got a load of them West Virginia girls. And they got more curves than the railroad tracks, and those West Virginia girls are coming back. West Virginians are coming home to the green rolling hills they love to roam. Count them crossing the county line. Clickety clack, they're coming back, hear those engines whine. Can you see her coming? See her fountain of smoke? She's got a load of them mountain folk, raised on the good book and some Mountain Dew, singing a song all the way along to a mountain tune. West Virginians are coming home to the green rolling hills they love to roam. Count them crossing the county line. Clickety clack, they're coming back to those engines whine. See me coming, can you see my smile? I'm on that train and I'll be home in a little while. When I step down from that rolling train, I'll kiss the ground and all the folks around and never leave again. West Virginians are coming home to the green rolling hills they love to roam. Count them crossing the county line. Clickety clack, they're coming back to those engines whine. Clickety clack, they're coming back to those engines whine. Clickety clack, they're coming back to those engines whine.
I love that song. I can listen to that song all day long. That one's great. So let's talk about the story then behind the song, because in my mind, you're Mr. West Virginia specifically for this song. So what's the story?
Where did you get those pictures to start with?
Oh, I get them from certain living people and certain ancestry people. They're everywhere.
Well, those are really neat, except that one of the whole family where we were sitting on a bench on the outside. I think you might get a lot of criticism from brothers and sisters on that one.
Well, that'll be your problem. But I will say the last picture, if anybody happens to be, I believe it's around Labor Day every year, the Stonewall Jackson Festival. That's where you actually performing with some of your family members. That photo was taken there a couple years ago by myself. So, but what's the story behind the song? Why'd you write it?
West Virginians Coming Home actually had something to do with, I hoped I could do something to encourage West Virginians to come home. Many West Virginians left in the 50s, 60s, even early 70s. And, but there was a time there when it looked like a trickle was starting to come back. And I was hoping that anything I could do to encourage more West Virginians to come home would be great. And the song kind of came about to reward those people who did come home. It's good to see you coming home. So that's where that came from.
Well, I don't know if, well, I think you do know this because I think we talked about it. What is interesting to me, definitely sounds a lot of Appalachian to me because of the noises, the instruments, the clickety clack, things like that you've added into it. And someone actually asked you for the opportunity to do this song, and they did. and they took out the clickety clack and some of the instruments, and they made it into a pure country song, which took it in a completely different mindset for me, because I didn't feel that rush. Because when you're singing it, they're coming home, I really felt it. In the country song, it was more of a slower version where, are we sure they're coming home?
Well, yeah, I did have other people ask to record it, and I have heard other recordings, and I've heard other people do it. I think what makes, in all honesty, what really makes ours really good is the fact that it was all family harmonies in the background. That's my sister Harriet, my brother Drex doing the bass. Brother Randy was singing a stack vocal with me, and Sherry, who is Harriet's daughter, was singing a high background voice, and Brother Ed was playing guitar, and
so it's a musical
that's
family.
what made it good.
That's great. Well, let's go ahead. If everybody is enjoying the music, why don't we roll another one? And this one is very special to Denton for a reason. I'll tell you just very quickly. We'll talk about the song afterwards, but he wrote it in mind of a particular individual. So let's go ahead and play the next video. And the next song is called Hillbilly Ways.
Lord, I get so tired of the city. I just want to go back home and stay. When I fall in this rut of self-pity, I fall back on my hillbilly ways. When the sky and the ground look the same here, everything is the same shade of gray. There's just one thing that helps me remain here, that's holding on to my hillbilly ways. And I'd trade the good times for a glass of old moonshine and a simple life where I was raised, where spring fever's catching in those green Appalachians, and back to my hillbilly ways. My friends and my family don't understand me, how those mountain streams flow through my veins. They grew up where the world is too demanding, and I must teach them my hillbilly ways. Sometimes we wander to a high meadow yonder, to a place where my memories play. Lay down and roll over in a field of white clover, and go back to my hillbilly ways. Yes, back to my hillbilly
There we go. Okay, so we've got about a minute to discuss this, and I hate to short you on this because I know this gentleman was very special to you. So why'd you write this song?
Well, let me just say that the house there that you saw is where I had my jam session the other night with.
Oh, wow.
With Raymond Blagg's son, Bob Blagg, who was also a coach for me in high school and a brother-in-law. But I wrote Hillbilly Ways to basically say, hey, there's nothing wrong with being a hillbilly. You can be a hillbilly with class. And Raymond Blag inspired me to think that way. He left this area back in the early 50s because he was a timberman, and the timber prices tanked at that time, and he had to go and leave this area for economic reasons, and he went to Columbus, Ohio. And while he was living in Columbus, he lived in a very nice part of the city. He decided he wanted to make a smoker for cooking. So he took an old refrigerator and he converted it into a smoker, and he had it sitting in his backyard where it was plain and obvious to see. Of course, we think of hillbillies as leaving things on the front porch and such. But anyhow, people kind of made fun of him for a while because he had that old refrigerator turned into a smoker. But after a while, he had 3 or 4 of his neighbors asking if he would make them one.
So a cottage industry, find an old refrigerator and make it into a smoker. And if that's not hillbilly ingenuity, I don't know what is.
Well, he had to say that he was a hillbilly with class. He had all kinds of abilities to do all kinds of things, which is not atypical of hillbillies as we know it. Hillbillies with class, and they have ways of doing things, and he had ways of doing things.
Well, that was a special way to also talk about him. If I remember correctly, you told me that they played the song at his funeral.
Yes, they did. And they played a video that was similar to what you just had, using some of the same pictures.
Oh, that's nice. Okay, if everybody's okay, we're going to try and squeeze in 2 more songs. And this next one is interesting to me as far as our topic, as far talking about Appalachian music and mountain music, because I feel this has a little bit of gospel to it. And this next video is called Mountain Gospel Banjo. So let's go ahead and play this video.
He attended a fine church out in the world, where he listened to the big pipe organ play. But he remembered how it was where he had grown up, and the little country church where he found the way. And every Sunday morning back behind the altar, he played all the songs the older people know. He got into what he was doing and seldom faltered, 'cause he played songs for Jesus on his old banjo. And you could hear his banjo ringing through the valley where the white oak timber stands. And people came out on their front porch just to listen to the banjo and the mountain gospel band. Oh, they tell me that his latter years were worried. He'd never learned to like the music of a harp, and the picture in his mind he had of heaven, with angels riding on a cloud and a strumming their flat and sharp. But he remembered how he played back in the valley where they sang and clapped their hands. Yes, he remembered how he played back in the valley when he played banjo for the mountain gospel band. They took him for his final trip out in the country, put the rest out where the black-eyed Susans grow. And he requested someone else to keep his money, but put him in the ground with his 5-string banjo. And now they tell me you can hear him in the valley when the storm blows o'er the land. He always said your fingers have to move like lightning when you play banjo for a mountain gospel band. He always said your fingers have to move like lightning when you play banjo for a mountain gospel band.
Okay, what's the story behind the song?
Well, actually, I think that song came about mainly because I felt like I needed a song for the banjo. And I was jamming a lot with a fella at that time who was really good on a banjo, Sterling Thayer. And Sterling was able to do what I wanted to hear. And I wrote the song for him to play. And he did a wonderful job, I thought.
Oh, no, I think he did too. I think that's one of my top 3 regrets. I never learned to play the banjo or the fiddle. Those would be my instruments, but he did a fabulous job with the banjo.
I actually think a banjo is the most aggravating instrument there possibly could be, because if you don't play it right, it's horrible. But if you play it right, it's wonderful. And Sterling was one of those people I thought played it wonderfully well.
That's pretty great. Okay, so we've got one more song, and then we'll take a little bit of Q&A. But the song that we're going to play next is the only one that you truly requested in there. You gave me a lot of grace to pick the songs that I wanted in here. And this next song is called Thank You. And the reason you said that you wrote it, there are no songs about Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Thank you for the year we had, though it's been lean at times. Thank you for the friends who've gathered by. Thank you for the fruit that grew on every branch and vine. Thank you for another harvest time. Thank you for the young ones and the old ones up in years. Thank you as we all sit down to dine. Even for four-legged friends whose life with us they share. Thank you for another harvest time. Thank you for our family, most are doing fine. Though they haven't always felt well, they don't think you've been unkind. Thank you for the grass that grows and the moon and stars that shine. Thank you for another harvest time. For the summer and the spring and winter time. Thank you for November fields and skies. Thank you for the valleys and the hills we have to climb. Thank you for another harvest time. Thank you for the good friends we've made in this lifetime. Thank you for forgiving us when we've been out of line. Thank you for the laughter and the love of life we find. Thank you for another harvest time. Thank you for another harvest time. Thank you for another harvest time.
Well, I think that video really shows modern Appalachia. I think it shows that Appalachia, we are changing the narrative through music.
Well, I thank you for putting Brother Randy's picture right at the end. It was his favorite of all that we did. And he constantly wanted me to do it more often than I did it.
Did you think it was just about a Thanksgiving only song? Because I would not have thought that until you told me that. To me, that kind of classifies the heart of what most Appalachians think. They're thankful for what they have. They're thankful for their families. They're young, they're old, they're thankful for their friends and their four-legged friends. But we are a thankful bunch.
I think that we should be more grateful and more thankful, and it shouldn't only be at Thanksgiving. And I had a lady that one time that asked me for permission to play that because she lived in Ohio and she played it at a number of old folks' homes and things, and she said
Oh.
they loved it. They loved it, and they really liked that business about the four-legged friends.
Don't we all? I know. Well, I know I do my webcast, my podcast, and my wiki training in Appalachia with my four-legged friends. So we're all covered. How old is that song? When did you write it?
That song was it's from the Songs to Be Heard album, and we did that in I think early 90s.
So that I think that is interesting. So now that the Thanksgiving holiday is fast approaching, if anybody wants a Thanksgiving song, there you go. You got it. And I want to also point out the couple things that if you want to listen to any of these songs again, this video, this presentation will be up on YouTube. So feel free, go back, listen as much as you would like to listen. And let's move on over to the questions, to the Q&A. And for those of you that guessed about the piano and carrying it over the mountains, you were correct. Nobody wanted to carry a piano over those mountains. So do we have any questions? This usually takes a second or two to pop up. Any questions or any comments? Oh, there you go. So what's your favorite song that you have written?
Oh, I'm not even sure. I've written a lot of songs that I haven't recorded, but of the songs I recorded, I'm kind of partial to Hillbilly Ways. I love the sweetness of the song, and I like the way the musicians came in the back. And I don't know if you could hear it early on, but Brother Ed put a guitar lick at right at the beginning. That's a very simple guitar lick, but it just sets the song off perfectly. It's the great opener to it. I just like that song because of the way it was done. And I remember when it was one of the first songs that we as a family did in the studio. And I remember at one point in time saying, take 19. We had to do at least 9 takes because we kept making mistakes in it.
So for all you musicians out there, you can probably feel what that's like. What's your preferred guitar?
I've got a question here. What's my favorite preferred guitar? Well, I have a guitar that I bought back in the 80s, I think, that I still play. And I love the sound of the guitar. And I believe that you buy a guitar for the sound that you hear out of it, not for the make or the model that's written on the top. And mine happens to be a Yamaha, and I like that guitar, and I've had it for years.
Well, there we go. Another question? We've got a few over in the comments. Yeah, I can tell you why he's laughing. Let's see if Denton tells you why he's laughing.
Well, it says, what would you write about Appalachia today? And hi, Grandpa. So I know that's coming from my only grandson. Hi, Samuel. And he's my favorite grandson, I tell him. If I were writing a song about Appalachia today, I probably would find a character, and you may very well be the one before it's over. So I don't know. I honestly don't know what song I would write. I was writing today before this show. I was writing a Christmas song actually that kind of stuck in my mind, and I don't know if I'll do anything with it or not. But I was in the process.
Oh, that's great. Oh, that's a good one. This is kind of your album that's hard to find, Songs to Be Heard. Where can we find your album, Songs to Be Heard? That has a couple songs on it that go way back.
I think that they're on the internet. I think you can find them on Spotify, I believe.
Not this one. You can find out for everybody watch. If you like some of the songs, especially "I'm an Appalachian" that played at the beginning, that is on Spotify. Do a search for Denton King.
Yeah, and I think
to get back to you on that one and double check.
Yeah.
Okay, we got time for a few more questions. Any other ones? Oh, that's a good one. What song do you like to perform that's not written by you?
I don't typically, when we get out and jam or when I'm performing, I don't typically do just my songs. I do a lot of different songs. And well, the other night when we were jamming, the very first song that came to my mind for us to jam to, and everybody kind of knew, was "At My Door the Leaves Are Falling.
Oh.
Cold north wind will come." That one. And, I can't say that there's a particular special one. And I love a lot of the gospel, a lot of gospel songs like "Amazing Grace" and "How Great Thou Art." Those are songs that I really like to do.
I will interject real quick that "How Great Thou Art" was my father's favorite hymn. And after we were packing up some stuff last year, I actually found the cassette tape of "I'm an Appalachian" in some of his belongings. So that kind of made me smile. So when you mentioned that, okay, any more questions? I see tons of questions. I don't know if we'll be able to get through them, but let's see if we've got two more questions. Kathy, you got any good ones to pop up?
Where can we buy a CD? It's been a while since both of those albums were released. So I don't know. They were on Amazon, and I would send Amazon CDs, and they would in turn send them to people. But that's hasn't happened for a while. So if you want one, we can send them to you. If you just get in touch with Sandy, she'll let me know, and we'll get them to you.
We'll hook you up. One more question. We do know that "I'm an Appalachian" CD, the collection, is also on Amazon Music too. Okay, so one more question. There we go. I think Billy Ways, right?
Well, yeah, I thought that was the same person, same question. But "Hillbilly Ways," maybe, I don't know. It's hard. It's kind of like I've heard people say that people that write songs, it's like each one of them is your child, and you can't really favor one over the other. That's kind of the way I feel about the songs. I like "Hillbilly Ways," but I like them all, really.
Well,
I don't think we did justice in recording all of them, but there's two or three that I feel like we could have done better in the recording. But as far as the song itself is concerned, they're all my favorite.
So we're just going to have to come see you live. That's
yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for spending this hour with us and talking, going deeper into your songs. I wish we had about 2 more hours and we'd play each song on the album and take a little bit of deeper dive. But I can't thank you enough, because your songwriting and your music, and also you coming to present today, helps us change the narrative about Appalachia and makes us proud. And I think the best thing to say is, And everybody repeat after me. I'm an Appalachian.
I'm an Appalachian.
Thank
you for letting me be on with you. I appreciate it. I appreciate all the work you're doing to make Appalachia a better looking place in the eyes of the world, because it is a wonderful place to live.
It is. Okay. Thanks, everybody.